Hello, hello, hello. Good morning, Tokozani. Greetings. All of the wonderful things. Happy Sunday. Hello. We're going to see if someone else comes in. All right. Good morning, Togoza. Greetings. Hello. Thank you so much for joining me this morning. I'm going to wait for a few more people to come in, and then we're going to get started. I'm really excited about this talk this morning and sharing this information with you. Forgive me, my sinuses. There's a big tree outside my window, and we have added me in that tree. The tree won last night, so I'm a little congested. Togozani, Makosini. All right, I think I'm going to wait until I'm going to give people until like 11:05. Togoza, yes, I do. I want to go live on TikTok, but you have to have 1,000 followers to go live on TikTok, and I don't have 1,000 followers yet, so I can't go live on TikTok. So I go live here, and then I'm probably going to upload this to TikTok. But once I get my followers up on TikTok, which if you're not following me on TikTok, please do. I'm at Agogom Kanyakude, the same handle. You can follow me on TikTok. Tell your neighbors, tell your friends, to follow Gogo over there. And once I'm eligible to go live, that is going to be where I'm going to be doing my lives, because it's so much more interactive than here. Every platform has their own, ins and outs. But I'm building my TikTok. This platform I've had for years. I've got close to 6,000 followers here. So I'm trying to do the same thing over there on TikTok. So follow me and tell your friends. Togoza, Magos, how are you? How you doing? All right, I'm going to get started because I'm excited. I'm also tired. I don't know if you can tell. I'm a little tired. So we're going to get started. We got the good filter working to help lift me up on this morning. Oh, yes, share this live link. So if I share it now, it'll take me out of the live, won't it? Or I can share it after I'm done with the live, and I can go over to TikTok and share the link. Got you. Told you I'm a little tired. So I got my notes. We're going to get started. Okay. Thank you so much, Miss Cosmic, for that. I appreciate it. I'm definitely going to do that. Okay. So on today, August 25th, yes, 2024 at 11:04 a.m., we are going to be talking about past life regression. I am Gogo Mkanyaku Dewaze Manzini. You can call me Gogo because that's a lot of syllables. And sometimes I get tongue twisted on all those syllables because isiZulu is not my first language. However, this is Ugogo. And I want to talk about past life regression. I know that for many, it's a subject that you may have heard about in passing. You may have heard about, past life regression through movies or books or, watching other healers or whatever talk about going into past lives. It's a subject that there's some confusion around. It is often confused with intergenerational trauma. Past life trauma can be confused with intergenerational trauma. And I just want to kind of give you guys some insight into some of the ways that past life issues can show up in your present day experience. The first thing I want to talk about is, what is past life regression? Technically, past life regression is a hypnosis method used to recover memories of past lives. Very simply put. It is in hypnotherapy, which I am a hypnotherapist as well, in addition to being a Sangoma. We place the client, the patient, in a trance, and we basically just have them go back in their memory. We have them, there are different methods where we have you basically travel in your internal memory, in your cellular memory. We have you travel back to a place either where something not so great happened or where something great happened, and we need to pull that up. And what happens is, in the trance, under hypnosis, you go back and you begin to tell what you see, what you remember. It is something that I can't do for you. It's your memories, right? We know that memory is held in the interstitial fluid. Greetings, Diacolin. Thank you so much for joining. Memory is held in the interstitial fluid between your cells. Okay? That's one of the places that memory is held. Memory is held in several different places. Your amygdala, your hippocampus, these are in your brain. But it's also held in the interstitial fluid, which is the fluid literally that flows between the cells that keeps them from, clumping together when they're not supposed to, and all of that. That is where memories are held. Memories are held in the interstitial fluid. And an interesting thing about interstitial fluid is that when you work with essential oils, and you put the essential oils on your skin at certain points, especially in your navel, right? Especially in your navel, if you're putting the essential oils, it literally is absorbed into the body, into the interstitial fluid, and it interacts. This is scientifically proven. And so that is how come working with essential oils is a great way to soothe the nervous system, to help deal with anxiety and things of that nature. And so past life regression is a method of hypnosis that puts you into a trance and basically guides you into recovering memories that may be too painful to deal with in your conscious state. So you have to alter your state of consciousness, because that's all a trance is an altered state of consciousness. And I want to let you know that you enter an altered state of consciousness every single day. You do it when you go to sleep. You do it right before you go to sleep. When you lay down in that space between falling asleep and that space of falling asleep, that twilight space, that's an altered state of consciousness. Dreaming is an altered state of consciousness. And so it is in these altered states that past life stuff tends to come up, because the prefrontal cortex, your thinking brain, is offline. Your thinking brain is the thing that really kind of keeps you from being able to access past life memories many times, because the thinking brain deals only with what the five senses can interpret, right? And it's very much connected to the material physical world, this 3D world that we see. But we know that there is much more in the subconscious, and the subconscious is really what drives behaviors. The subconscious is what drives cycles and patterns. That's where your limiting beliefs are held. And understand this, all beliefs are limiting. We'll get into that maybe later on in this video or in another video. But all beliefs, no matter what you believe, it's limited, because you don't need proof to believe, right? So anyway, your beliefs are held in your subconscious, your ideas, your thoughts, your fears, the programming that you received in childhood, all of that is held in the deep subconscious. And that is where hypnosis and trance work and past life regression, that's where we deal. We deal in the deep subconscious, okay? And so some people may say they don't believe in past lives, that, this is the only life we have. But this is not true. We know this to not be true because time, first of all, is a continuum, right? As Seal so eloquently said in his song, Fly Like an Eagle, right? He said, time keeps on slipping into the future. Time, as long as there's earth, there's time, right? Because time is very much an earthbound dimension, right? And so time is a continuum. It continues. And life is also a continuum. So just because the body ceases to function, hello, Wes, how are you? So great to see you. And Corinne Spaces, thank you so much for joining as well. Life does not end when the body ceases to function. When the body ceases to function, that's called death. But that is not necessarily the end of your existence or the end of your soul's existence. We are trichotomous beings or triune beings, as some would say. We are spirit beings. We inhabit a body, and we possess a soul. We are cultivating a soul. We are nurturing a soul. Hello, cousin. Hello, how are you? Thank you so much for joining me. And we possess a soul. Okay, and the soul is what we came here to nurture, to develop, to evolve, because the soul is the medium through which our spirit evolves and through all of these things, right? So life or the soul does not end simply because the body ceases to function. And what happens many times is that, especially in the case of like a major trauma, that perhaps the soul was not able to heal from or recover from, what happens is when it's time to evolve, when it's time to ascend, because the soul is so heavy, it reincarnates. So there's a difference between incarnation and reincarnation, okay? Now I'm going to try to not get too deep into this because this is really like a teaching, a class probably that I could put together. But many times the soul will reincarnate because it can't ascend, because it hasn't worked out its issues. It hasn't worked out. It hasn't recovered from the trauma. It hasn't healed. It hasn't, right? And so when that happens, the wounds that you experienced in a past life will continue to manifest in every reincarnation until that wound is healed. And then you can ascend and the whole past life thing cycle will be over, okay? And so many people are carrying wounds from past lives. And like I said before, there seems to be some, I guess, I don't know, what's the word I'm looking for? Overlap. There seems to be some overlap of intergenerational trauma and past life trauma. Okay. For those of us who are descended from enslaved Africans and from genocided indigenous people, no matter where you are in the world, we have intergenerational trauma, right? As a matter of fact, everybody has intergenerational trauma, even those people who are descended from the enslavers and everything. They absolutely are traumatized. The whole world has this intergenerational trauma that we just pass on. But then we also have our own stuff that we carry from lifetime to lifetime to lifetime. And how do you know when you have a past life wound? Here's some ways, and you can write these down. The main one is feeling stuck in life, like you're constantly hitting the same barrier over and over and over again, no matter what you do, no matter how much healing work you do, no matter how much you pray, no matter how much you pahla, no matter how many ebos you do, no matter how many lambs you slaughter or chickens you slaughter, it seems like you never are able to get over this hump. This is a major, 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 major sign that you potentially have past life trauma, untreatable depression or mental health. Untreatable. And some mental health issues are treatable, right? Some mental health issues you're able to take medication for, you're able to get therapies, and you work them out. Some stuff seems to just linger and you cannot get past it. That could be a sign that you have past life traumas. Suicidal ideations, constantly just wanting to die. And it's not so much that you want to kill yourself, right? It's not so much that you want to unalive yourself. Let me, because I want to make sure that this can be shared. It's not so much that you want to unalive yourself. It's that you just have no vigor for life. You just seem to, I just want a different life. I wish I was living a different life, And so that's where the suicidal ideations come in. Phobias are another one, very deep phobias, like you're afraid of water, you're afraid of snakes. You have these, and a phobia is an irrational fear. Okay, so it is an irrational fear of water is when you have never had a negative experience with water, but you are deathly afraid to go into the water. That is one of the very clear signs that you may need to do some past life work, because in a past life, perhaps you succumbed to the water. Another thing about these signs that I'm giving you is that these are just signs. They need to be investigated. Just because you have a phobia, or just because you may be feeling stuck or repeating negative cycles or in a violent relationship, or any of the things I'm going to mention, doesn't necessarily mean that you have past life trauma, but it could mean it's a symptom, right? So it requires further investigation. This is something that we would definitely have to divine and say, okay, is there something here? Negative cycles, violent relationships. You constantly find yourself in relationships that are emotionally violent, physically violent, sexually violent, right? Child loss, constantly having miscarriages, or terminating pregnancies, or, God forbid, you give birth to your child and then your child transitions at a young age. If you're accident prone, if you have mystery illnesses, if you have a birthmark. And let me give you a very personal example. So I have lots of tattoos, right? You see that. But I also have a birthmark right here. And this birthmark is on my wrist. It's on my left wrist. In my very first past life regression experience, that was not in a therapeutic setting. It was it was triggered by trauma and very high emotions. And I had my past life experience, and I remembered what happened to my wrist. And this wrist was tied very tightly to the point where the skin broke, to the point where it was raw and bleeding down to the bone, because I was trying to get free. This particular past life memory is my most recent past life memory. It is from the late early 1800s. And I had been tied and restrained because I was a bit too outspoken, okay. So maybe Spirit doesn't want me to tell you about my past life story, but this is a remnant of a past life. This injury here led to my death in a past life. And it's, like I said, my most recent past life. And you can tell that it's my most recent past life because it's very dark. It's very prominent right? And so a lot of times birthmarks are the place where in your previous past life where something happened to you and you died or you were injured or you were harmed in some way, and it's still very much affecting your life in this lifetime. Okay. And so children and those who are close to death are more open to remembering their past lives. We see it all the time. We see videos all the time of little people. There was a video of a little girl. She was at a gravesite, I think, of her mommy or her auntie or someone had passed away. And she was standing there and having a conversation with her ancestor. I mean, reached up, kissed her, said bye-bye and everything. And it was a very, very sweet experience. You find children often talking about, oh, when I was a mommy, I had 4 kids and I had a husband, or I died this way, or I was a queen, or I was a this or that. They're remembering their past lives. Children are very, 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 very susceptible because they're still so close to the veil. Forgive that sound. I don't know if you can hear it. I think one of my neighbors may have left their stove on a little too long, so that's their smoke detector going off. And also elderly people who are close to death, or not even just elderly people who are close to dying, because they're close to that veil and they're able to remember things, and because time is a continuum, but it's also very illusory, right? So the past is the present is the future. Everything is now. 10 minutes from now, it's going to be now. So the future is really now, and everything you learned everything you're doing now, you learned in the past. So it's like this Venn diagram of time when it comes to the lives that you've lived. It becomes very, very, very palpable and available when you're close to the veil, and that is when you are first born and when you're close to exiting. Okay. So really, really, I'm so sorry. My signal was so strong, and then hopefully you're getting this. Past life regression deals with time, it deals with your life, and it deals with trauma. Okay. Primarily, you can always use past life regression as a way to access your joy, to access, positive things from your past life. But for most of us, we got to deal with the trauma first, right? Because that's the pressing thing. And so some past life therapies, there are many different forms. I know I said in the beginning that it's a hypnotic method. It's a method of hypnosis, and that's true. And there are other ways that you can engage with your past lives and with your past selves. That is through a family constellation ceremony. Many of you, I don't know, you may or may not know, have heard about this particular modality, but a family constellation ceremony is basically where you go back to a particular, is the thing that they deal with in the past in the family constellation. You are able to, you're surrounded by people who take on certain characteristics of family members or people in your life, and you're able to find yourself. You're able to pinpoint in your past life and also in your family line where some of these traumas may have generated from. Hypnosis, again, is the primary tool for engaging past life regression, going into trance. And it's really about trusting the subconscious. Like I said earlier, the subconscious is where all of your memories, all of the things that drive your behaviors, all of your programming, everything is held within the deep subconscious. And so hypnosis is a fantastic way of accessing that, right? Also dream incubation, because sometimes past life memories come up when we're asleep, right? Like I said before, that sleeping and dreaming are altered states of consciousness. And so you are able to, in dream incubation, that's where you are intentionally dreaming. It's akin to lucid dreaming, but it's more about the intention that you set prior to going to sleep, and about you writing down and journaling your dream, and kind of using your dream as a divination tool, really, to see what it is that your deep subconscious is trying to tell you. And sometimes it's past life stuff that comes up. If you have dreams that you were in another time, another place, another galaxy, another planet, all of these, my hosts, all of these are past life signs. And then also divination. Divination is a very powerful tool. Specifically, bone divination is a very, 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 very powerful tool to be able to say, okay, this issue that you're dealing with is not something that comes down through your bloodline. It's something that you've been carrying with you as you hopscotch through life. Right? Because we come to Earth. Earth is school. We come to Earth to learn, to evolve, to grow, to evolve our consciousness. And sometimes it takes lifetimes to do that. You're not going to get it all in this one lifetime. You're not going to get it all in this one lifetime. I'm preaching to myself and letting y'all listen. You are not going to get all of the answers that your soul is seeking in this lifetime. It takes many, many, many lifetimes in order to really evolve, because the nature of this dimension, the nature of this realm in which we exist is very dense. It's very heavy, right? It's so dense and it's so heavy that it makes us believe that there are, that there's solids and things that are inanimate. That's how dense and how slow things move in the third dimension, right? If things are slowed way, way, way down. But when you understand that we live in a quantum universe, then you realize that, there must be more, and there is more. And so, it takes time to get the more. It takes time to move from grace to grace and from glory to glory, as the Bible says. It takes time, sometimes lifetimes, okay? Because how many people do you and I know that have very obvious character flaws, very obvious issues, and they seem oblivious? They seem oblivious to they going through life 40, 50, 60 years old, just clueless. And then they die, and then they get close to dying, and it's like all of a sudden, now I know. Now I realize, well, you got to come back and do it again, because you got to pass Earth. You got to pass Earth. You have to pass Earth, right? And according to many, many astronomers, astrologers, people who deal with metaphysics and things like that, there is the understanding that there is no place like Earth, not only in our solar system, not only in our galaxy, but perhaps in the entire cosmos. There's no place like here, right? And so we have to pass Earth, and it takes time. We're all remedial, right? We're all remedial. We all have to keep trying and keep doing it. And so that's where the past life regression comes in. Okay, so past life experiences usually occur during a trance state, although not always intentionally or consciously. Okay, sometimes these memories can break through your conscious awareness, especially if you're stressed or if you find yourself in ceremony, like if it's done on purpose. Right? Or not if it's done on purpose, if you are just in ceremony with other people and the spirit is high. Sometimes a past life memory can break through, just like flashbacks, right? And that's what I had when I discovered this past life, my previous lifetime. here on the planet, I was in a ceremonial state, and my spirit was very high, and I was getting more and more and more agitated, and this agitation was seeming to come from nowhere, and I couldn't understand it. And then the next thing I know, in my mind's eye, it was like, I don't know if any of you know that scripture in the Bible where Paul says, whether in the body or out of the body, I could not tell. That's what was happening, and I couldn't tell. I was on the plantation, but I was in the apartment, and I was in the apartment, but I was on the plantation. And then the more I got into that memory, the more it became real for me. Then I was able to see exactly what was happening. And it was a big, 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 big point, turning point in my healing journey, right? In my journey of spirituality. Understanding that these wounds, these core wounds, the feeling of being stuck, not able to get anywhere in life, and irrational fears and all of these things were playing out over and over and over again. And I did not know up until that point that it was coming from my previous lifetime. And so past life regression is something that if you come into a session with me, we'll have you, sit, become comfortable. We'll do your intake session. We'll have you begin with doing a lot of deep breathing, because breath is the meditation, right? Breathing is the meditation. If you struggle with meditation, if you struggle with, sitting and being quiet, focus on your breathing. Literally, that is the foundational element to any meditative practice, is focusing on the breath, because the breath is the life, right? Inspire, in breathing. And so, we would have you get comfortable, have you breathe. I would induce you into your hypnotic state. I would count you down into your hypnotic state. We would deepen you, and then have you go to, many times I'll have my clients to, if they love the water, we'll board a ship, and take me to a place that you want to revisit in a past life, right? Because I don't know about your past lives. Only you know. They're your past lives. They're encoded in your DNA. They're encoded in your cellular memory. And so I would, in that state, I would ask the subconscious to guide you back to a place where we want to, deal with whatever issue brought you in the first place. And so if you want to resolve a phobia that you have that's impeding on your ability to enjoy your life, we would have you go back to a time where you experienced drowning. Say if you're afraid of water, where you experienced drowning, where you experienced falling from a height and injuring yourself or harming yourself, where you lost your child, where and we would work through that trauma in session. It's the safest way to deal with certain traumas is in trance, because like I said, the prefrontal cortex, the thinking brain, is offline. And so the concern is that we don't want to re-traumatize you by remembering. We always want to put the past life experience, especially if it was negative, we want to make sure that we couch it in between, grace and compassion. And so this is what an experienced therapist will do. They will use words and suggestions that help you release. Many times a client will begin to weep. They will have what we call abreactions. They'll weep. They may become angry. They may start, a lot of people, they twitch and fidget, when they get nervous and everything. And so we can ease you out of the trance a little bit and bring you up so you can kind of breathe and take a few more deep cleansing breaths. And then we can take you back down and walk you through it. Because here's the thing. The soul likes to hold on to things that it needs to let go of, right? The soul is very, very, very sticky, and it wants to hold on. It wants to hold on to pain because pain somehow validates its existence. It somehow, we become emotionally attached to the pain. And past life regression is a way to help you disengage from a pain that you've been carrying. It's almost like a guinea sack. You know, there are lots of metaphors and everything that we would use in the hypnotic session. One of my favorites is a backpack or a knapsack. Or a rucksack. Anybody that's been in the military, you know, those big green backpacks that you see soldiers and Marines and stuff carry. And a lot of times that's where the stuff is in our psyche, right? That's a metaphor. We're carrying, the pain, the loss, the rage, the deep grief, the guilt, the shame. We're carrying these things. And it is in hypnotherapy and through hypnotherapy, what I call trance work, where we can literally unpack those things. And the thing about the subconscious that I really, really, really love is that there is a lot of ground that can be covered when you deal with the deep subconscious that can't be covered in traditional therapy through just talking about it, right? Sometimes it's not enough just to talk about it. You have to go back and you have to resolve it in your mind, because whatever you say in your mind, whatever you tell yourself, whatever you implant into your deep subconscious becomes your truth. So if you are carrying past life traumas, if you think you're carrying past life traumas and you enter into a past life regression session, you will find that over time, maybe 2-3 sessions, depending on how deep the wound is, you'll start to feel like a little bit lighter and like it's been years and I've been trying. And it's because the deep subconscious is able to do in hours what the conscious mind might take a lifetime to do. And so most people, though, are under the illusion that this life is the only life that they have. What they say, you only have one life to live. And I get why people say that. There's only one life. There's only life. There's only life. We say my life and your life, but I have my experience of life. You have your experience of life. But it's only life. Does that make sense? It's only life. Life is the river. And sometimes you get waves, and sometimes you get whirlpools, and sometimes you get spouts, and sometimes you get water droplets. These are all our experiences of life. And we say, well, this is my life. Well, no, it's just life. It's just life. And so the deep subconscious can unravel and unpack stuff from your experiences in life to help you be able to enjoy the rest of your life. I wanted to talk a little bit about trauma. This was not going to be a long talk. It's already a little bit longer than I expected. But just trauma the definition of trauma is the lasting emotional response that often results from living through a distressing event or a series of distressing events. Okay. And so when that trauma is unresolved, the soul sometimes can't let go, and it reincarnates and brings that trauma right back into the mix. And so past life regression is a way to access that by bypassing your thinking brain, and to access that deep memory that is that core wound that is causing you so much pain, and that feels like the albatross around your neck. And if you know what an albatross is, it's a weight, like a weighted anchor around your neck. And sometimes we have to take you into deep trance. We have to take you deep into the underworld, as it were. What we saw happen with in Black Panther with T'Challa and Shuri and Killmonger and everybody having to go into that underworld space where the ancestors are, but also you can access your past lives in that realm as well. And, when you have dreams that are very, very jolting, like you wake up from the dream and you have an emotional response to it, but you don't understand it. You're like, what does this dream mean? But it has me so upset. Find a healer. If it's not me, a healer or a hypnotherapist that you trust. And really inquire about past life regression. And you'll be surprised. You will encounter, you can encounter your spirit guides through doing past life work. You can encounter those people who are there to help you. You can encounter, ancestors that you didn't know walk with you. They will show up in your past life session to help you transcend and to help you resolve the grief, to help you resolve the trauma, and they'll hold your hand. And many, many times I've had many clients who told me that after their session, they either immediately or a little bit, after, they come back and they'll say, I feel lighter. I feel like my heart is light. I feel like my soul is light, like my spirit is lifted. And that's exactly what we want to happen. That is the outcome that we're looking for when we deal with past life regression. It's not so much, I just want you to feel better. That's an oversimplification. I just want you to feel better. But what I want is what you want, because we're dealing with your stated desires, your stated desired outcome, what you want to see happen in your life. That's what I want. I want what you want. I want you to be free to enjoy your life. I want you to be free to live without the shadow hanging over you, without the guilt or the shame. Some of us have done horrible things in our past lives. Horrible things. As sweet and wonderful and loving as you are in this life, some you aren't always sweet and lovable in every lifetime, because we are here to experience life. And so if every lifetime you're the life of the party, what are you learning? Right? Sometimes you're the villain. And some of us were the villain in our past lives. Some of us did great harm to ourselves, to others, to the people that we love. And we wonder why we're stuck in this lifetime. And it's because we have to face it. And it is through past life regression that we are able to face that very, very difficult challenge of looking at yourself in the mirror. I always say, you have to look the devil in the eye and realize that those eyes are yours. Okay. And one of the things that past life regression will help you do is realize that while you are capable of great harm, while you may have committed great harm, you are still worthy and still deserving of great compassion. It's the beauty of being human and having this human experience, is the compassion and the way that we can show ourselves grace. And that really is what past life regression therapy is about. It's about showing yourself grace retrospectively. Okay, so does anyone have any questions? I've been talking for 45 minutes. So do you have any questions about past life about past lives, the symptoms of potential past life trauma, past life therapies, any of that? I'm going to leave it open for just a few minutes to see if anybody has any questions. And if not, I'm going to say bye. I'm going to end this live. Okay. So no questions, no questions, no questions. I'm going to share this live on TikTok. I'm going to share it on Facebook. I'm going to share it again here. You're welcome. Thank you so much for listening and for joining. I'm just checking to make sure that I've said everything that needs to be said. Yeah. Yeah, when you've tried everything, when you've prayed, when you've fasted, when you've sacrificed, when you've ritualed, when you've lit the candles and burned the impepo and said the prayers and did everything, maybe it's time to go into some deep past life work and really dig things up by the root. If you're interested in this therapy, DM me. We can set up an appointment. This can be done virtually, although I do prefer to do sessions in person. But I understand that many people who want to work with me may not actually live in my area. So, yeah, okay. That's it. Thank you so much for rocking with me today. I appreciate you. And we'll be back next time. Okay? Tokozani.